Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Charles Advance. I want to welcome you guys to another episode of the Dreamers Pro Show, where we cover everything from sports, hot topics, classic debates, entertainment, and we give you guys a fresh perspective on things and how we see them. It looks like today we got a little bit of controversy that we got to address. Before we get into it, please make sure you like the video and subscribe to the channel. So, y'all know every now and again, Stephen A. Smith makes headlines in the NBA. I'm actually trying to pull this up. Top NBA players. So he makes headlines from time to time, and he did that recently, which was it really came from him talking about the All-Star game and all of that. And in the midst of that, they started to ask the question about who should be the next face of the NBA. I believe they were asking Anthony Edwards or whether or not he wanted to be the face of the NBA, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So they were talking about him, and they were having a panel discussion. It was Stephen A. Smith, Shannon Sharp. I forgot the third person he was talking to. I can't remember the third person that was on the panel. But anyway, they were discussing this, right? I think, was it? Udonis Haslem. So they were talking about this. And essentially what happened was Stephen A. Smith was talking about this. He then said he doesn't think an international player should be the face of the NBA. He believes that is something that will not resonate with Americans, and he feels that it won't be a good thing if an international player becomes the face of the NBA. And these comments sparked a lot of talk on Twitter because a lot of people were reacting to it, and a lot of people were pushing back on some of the things that Stephen A. Smith had to say. So what we want to do is we want to play what he said first initially, and then we're going to come back and get into some of the reaction from people and then give you guys our thoughts. Take a listen to Stephen A. Smith here.
My personal opinion is I don't believe an international player can be the face of the NBA. I know they're global iconic figures. Their popularity extends globally, but the NBA is an American-born sport, and it needs to resonate in America. And if it doesn't resonate in America, then it's not going to matter to America how you resonate beyond. And so that's just my mentality, UD. That's how I think about it. Not to say they can't be popular or what have you, but I just think about it that way. Shannon, as to your point that you made yesterday, UD wasn't here when you made it. I understand your point, and you're absolutely right. You can't want something more for somebody else than they want for themselves, and I totally get that. But that doesn't mean I'm not entitled to my wish list. And my wish is that Anthony Edwards changes his mind. And the reason why is because, my favorite players are him and Steph Curry. And where I fell in love with Anthony Edwards wasn't with the dunks or whatever. It was when the playoffs showed up last year, and that brother was giving it to the Phoenix Suns. That to me was the nail in the coffin, UD, because he was talking major smack to his idol, Kevin Durant. And he was going after, and remember, I'm somebody that feels very, very highly about Devin Booker. I think Devin Booker's an absolute stud. I watched that brother get on the court against them brothers and just shrink them. Let them know there was levels to it, and I don't know who told y'all were on it, but y'all ain't, and went at them.
Okay, so let's get into some of the reaction from people online, okay? And this post is from NBA Central. One person said, Ant better than Luka anyway, but he doesn't want to be want the torch. Said no himself, and damn for sure can't give the league to Ja. LOL. NBA is sinking until they find the next Jordan, Kobe, or LeBron. So that's one person. Another person said, look at it, he did a Steve Harvey face. He said, Ohtani, the face of baseball, but for some reason it's an issue for an international players to be the face of the NBA? Question mark. Another person says, I'm a Laker fan, but Jason Tatum is the next face of the league. It's not even close. Put the media machine on him. Another person said, yeah, because being born in America is the key to superstardom. That's why LeBron is the most famous, more famous than Ronaldo. Oh, wait. Someone tells Stephen A. that the greatness doesn't need a zip code. Another person said, which American player will take it over is the question. Another person said, NBA, no. He said, this is the wrong hill to die on. MLB is starting to become relevant again because they embrace Ohtani. I think the NBA should make Giannis and Jokic as the faces of the NBA. Let me see. Another guy left a pretty interesting comment here, but I can't find it. Oh, yeah. One guy says, This is Noah. He says the NBA may have been created in America, but it was created by a Canadian. And then there was one interesting one that I'm trying to see here if I can find it. Unfortunately, I cannot find it. It was somebody making a comment about Ronaldo and then all of those different things there. So what are my thoughts about this? First of all, I understand where Stephen A. Smith is coming from. I think what Stephen A. Smith is using is conventional wisdom, which is, look, the NBA is an American product by and large, although it's consumed by a lot of people globally, but nevertheless is an American product dominated by American players. If you look at the history of the league in terms of the faces of the league, they've all been American players. So I can understand what he's saying. It makes sense when you think about it from conventional wisdom. And also, I think that Americans would be happy if it was an American that was the face of the NBA. But things are changing. Okay, things are changing. And I think what's been happening is that a lot of the American-born players are turning off the American fans because a lot of the American guys don't really take the league as serious as their predecessors. They don't guard it with a sense of pride. And therefore, they've created an avenue for international players to come in and supplant them. If you look at the top 3 players in the world, they're all international players. If you look at the top 5 players in the world, they're probably all international players. You got Giannis, Nikola Jokic, Luka Doncic, SGA. Joel Embiid just 2 years ago was in the top 5, but he's no longer in the top 5. So I think the other guy you may throw in there is, you may throw in Jason Tatum or something like that. If you look at the All-NBA first team last year, the only American player to make the All-NBA first team last year was Jason Tatum. All the others were foreign players. Okay, now, in terms of global appeal, Stephen A. Smith did bring up that point. You have Luka Doncic, you have Nikola Jokic, you have Giannis Antetokounmpo there. So you have all of these guys. Look, I think the NBA is looking at it differently. The NBA is trying to expand its product in places like Europe and Africa. So the NBA is forward thinking in that aspect, and they're trying to make their league a global league, right? So I don't think the NBA has the same amount of trepidations that Stephen A. Smith does. I'm sure they do. Hence the reason they tried to market players like Zion Williamson, John Morant, who just basically effed off the opportunity, who's another player, Anthony Edwards. But the fact of the matter is also this. You can't make the face of your league a player that isn't also experiencing some success. You also need that as well. Maybe not immediately, but down the road you will. And if I'm looking at it, if I'm the commissioner thinking about marketing the sport and I had to choose between Victor Wembanyama and Anthony Edwards, I'm going in the direction of Victor Wembanyama. Okay. And by the way, why do they keep calling Victor Wembanyama Victor Wembanyama? His name is Victor Wembanyama. I mean, it's a very difficult name for me to memorize, but I memorized it, and I'm not getting paid millions of dollars to be able to pronounce his last name. So for God's sakes, the least you can do is pronounce the guy's name properly. For God's sakes, I mean, you get paid all that money, just remember his name. But anyway, if I'm them, I'm looking at Victor. Okay. And I'm looking at Victor for a number of reasons. Number one, he's a hell of a player. He is already an all-star in his second year in the NBA. That's some LeBron James type stuff. He's, and I'm going to say it, he's black, so he appeals to a lot of blacks. But he's also European, right? Not to say that whites don't support black players, because they do, obviously. A lot of people have their favorite players. Michael Jordan, he's black and white, so I'm not saying that, but you understand what I'm saying. He plays with flair. He also has an international appeal to him, not just because of France, and France is a huge market, but in terms of French-speaking people, there are a lot of them in the world. And then also he represents Africa as well. So you can bring in the African market. A lot of African countries will support him just because he's African. It doesn't even matter what country he's from. I think his family's from Cote d'Ivoire, or no, is it Cote d'Ivoire? No. It's oh man, I can't, hold on. What's the country Victor Wembanyama? African origin. I think it's not Cote d'Ivoire. Let me get it right. It's Congo. He's Congolese, right? Excuse me. So if I'm looking at that, I would market him. I'll probably market him. He seems a little bit more marketable than Anthony Edwards, if I'm being honest with you. He doesn't seem like somebody that would have as much gaffes as Anthony Edwards. Anthony Edwards tends to have a lot of gaffes in the sense that he's always getting fined. So from a sponsorship standpoint, I think he's probably a safer bet. He won't probably go out there and say things that may make the league look bad. I don't know. This is just my interpretation of things. But I understand where Stephen A. Smith is coming from. But if I had to choose between the two, I'm looking in the direction of Victor. Now, if Anthony Edwards changes his mind and decides to want to be the face, then no problem. I don't care one way or the other. But this is just where I am. But I also understand where Stephen A. Smith is coming from. But then people make some interesting points about Shohei Ohtani and what he's been doing. So this is just my take on it. You guys let me know what you think about it in the comment section. We catch you on the next show. I'm out.